Welcome to this podcast for Brighton School of Business and Management students studying for the HND Level 5 courses. Section 1, bullet point 1 is first of all looking at how personal selling supports the other elements in the promotional mix. So you could look here at how these elements can be helped or can be made more effective by the inclusion and integration of personal selling into the mix. And you might also want to think about how the selling job can be made more easy or more effective by the other elements in the promotional mix. Bullet point 2, there are quite a few different situations you could look at here. Commodity products compared with high value products, or new and innovative markets compared with mature markets, for example, or perhaps first time purchases compared with repeat purchases. And keep in mind as well, your assignment also needs to explore how these different situations have an influence on personal selling. Bullet point 3, I think you need to think here about the different roles a sales team or individuals within the sales team might need to perform, and look at how these might change with different products and within different organisations. And also think about how these different roles, which could include customer support, key account management, technical support, or perhaps sales negotiation, how these fit within the company's overall marketing strategy. Section 2, which is putting the principles of selling into practice. There are lots of theories about how to develop and how to give an effective sales presentation, and lots of resources on the web you should make yourself aware of. I have a couple of recommendations. Have a look at slideshare.net. There are thousands of presentations on there that you can have a look at, some good and some bad, but it will give you a good idea of how other people are presenting their ideas. There is an interesting theory on the secret structure of great presentations from Nancy Duarte. If you go to www.ted.com and type Nancy Duarte into the search box, you should be able to find it from there.
Because the greatest communicators of all time, I went through speeches, everything. Actually, I can overlay the shape. Even the Gettysburg Address follows the shape. So at the beginning of any presentation, you need to establish what is. Here's the status quo, here's what's going on. And then you need to compare that to what could be. Now, you need to make that gap as big as possible, because there's the commonplace of the status quo, and you need to contrast that with the loftiness of your idea.
You might want to have a look at Prezi.com, which is a slightly more stylish option to PowerPoint, and I have also written an article about how to develop simple infographics to enhance presentations. But keep in mind throughout this part of the assignment that content and substance are the really important elements, far more important than style or nice graphics. And keep in mind as well that this part of the assignment is intended to demonstrate an understanding of the principles of selling, so you need to show that you have given some thought in your presentation to some of these important principles, like identifying customer needs and handling objections. Section 3, which is looking at sales management. Bullet point 1, you need to explain the process and the stages involved in developing a sales strategy, and the importance of making sure there is a synergy between overall company or corporate objectives and sales objectives. On bullet point 2, you might want to include here a summary of the different recruitment options that are available to a company with reference to recruiting somebody to a sales position. Bullet point 3 is covering a lot of the issues here that are important in the retention of sales staff. And as well as an evaluation, I think it would be useful here to look at some of the alternative methods of motivation, remuneration and training of sales personnel. And finally, bullet point 5, here is your opportunity to talk about the use of customer relationship management systems and some of the database and other IT solutions that are used in sales management. Examine how they are used and also in what ways they can improve the effectiveness of sales management. Section 4, there are two aspects to this question really. Bullet point 1 is asking you to develop a sales plan, and the rest of the assignment is looking mainly at international selling. On bullet point 2, As well as looking at opportunities, it will be useful here to look at the practical implications of selling overseas, including issues like whether or not to appoint sales agents or whether to sell direct, transportation and logistics issues, and possibly potential problems to do with providing service and support to overseas customers. On bullet point 3, keep in mind the bullet point is not only talking about exhibiting at a trade show. Trade shows and exhibitions are used by a lot of non-exhibiting companies as a convenient place to meet buyers and suppliers. And finally, on bullet points 2 and 3, once you have investigated the opportunities, it will be useful to come up with some recommendations for where and if overseas selling is desirable or practical, and also which exhibitions and trade fairs would be worth attending, and of course remember to explain why you have arrived at the conclusions you are making. Finally, if you need any further support or guidance with this assignment, please contact your tutor.